Good morning, all the LinkedIn, Facebook, VCV, LinkedIn, Facebook fans, and also YouTube. Today we got a special edition. As you know, all month we've been interviewing. Our theme week is called for the month is called "Thank You for Your Service, Black Patriot," and we did this. We do this session for two reasons. One, we want to make sure everybody out there in the world with the narrative understand that all of us, all races, including African Americans, this is Black History Month, we contribute to the freedoms that we all benefit from, all of us, and I want to make sure that's known. And then the second one is we want to know, make people of our community knows that we also served and died for this country for the right. So this is a twofold message, and that's what we're doing here. So for those of you may have been the first time because it's 10 o'clock, and normally I do this at 7 o'clock at night. I just want to give you a quick recap of what we're trying to do here. So what you see here is that for the month of February, it says, "Thank you for your service in honor of Black History Month. Thank you for your service, Black Patriot." And we've already interviewed Aubrey McDade. He's only the second African American to receive the Navy Cross. We interviewed him last week. Then last Monday, those of you guys, it was a riveting, an excellent last Monday with Colonel Khalid Shabazz, who was the highest ranking chaplain, Muslim chaplain in the country, and we heard a lot about him. The great story we have here. But I tell you, and then lastly, it's not lastly, but the one I'm really excited about is going to be on the 27th of February at 7 p.m. where we're going to sit there and celebrate the Medal of Honor recipient, Sergeant First Class Alan Cash. It's posthumously, so it's going to be his battle buddies, Sergeant Major Martin Celestine, Sergeant Major Quentin Fenderson, and some of the family members, which will be Cassinel, and also his sister, and also his niece, Aaron. So that's what's going on. I'm excited about you hear so much about it when I finish this, but that's what this series is all about. Now, I one of the things that's kind of different. I know it's like a little curveball because I know this is every Monday at 7 o'clock. This is different because I got a friend of mine, my wife. I hear my wife in my ear saying, "You don't have any friends. You don't have any friends." Whatever. He's a friend. Okay. And I said I want to have him on because he is history is also. He is actually the first. Oh, sorry, wrong slide here. That ain't him. He's actually the first African American VA press secretary. Hopefully not the last. It won't even become significant, but it is important now because he can be a role model for other African American children and men who may think have the same path that he took. So he's an absolute role model. He's actually history as well. But before we go to our guest, we got to do my intro. There you go. So now I want to thank our sponsors. We got to always thank our sponsors. So our sponsors for this whole monthly broadcast is going to be the Gamma Eta Sigma, Phi Beta Sigma chapter here in Tampa. Go Mob for all those other guys out there. We had an interesting conversation last week when Chaplain Chabaz is Q. So I had to delete his stuff. But anyway, so Go Mob. Thank you for the chapter. Every 15 minutes I'll talk about them. The St. Pete NAACP. And of course, Veterans Council Veterans. So I want to thank you for your sponsorship for this whole month and contributing to Black History Month. Wow. So our next guest, I tell you, and like I said, we've been talking back and forth. We've been on attached to LinkedIn, and I realized that hey, this guy's history, the first Black VA press secretary, and I want to know more about that. And I'm sure you guys want to know more about it as well. This particular broadcast is not a question and answer session, so it's not like you guys come and say, "Hey, why am I not getting my claims? And why is this taking so long?" This is not this kind of show at this point in time. You ain't ready for that. Maybe next time, either he or somebody else will come, have a good conversation with a flak jacket. But this particular broadcast is about Terrence Hayes, the man. He is from the childhood to his military experience and then his family. And I always like to add families because families humanize us. If we don't add the family, they think we're like G.I. Joes and Terminators, whatever, and don't think we have feelings. We have feelings, and we got to deal with that. We got to run through that. Something the Veterans Council Veterans are sensitive to, and everybody out there as well. So the first one will be, first I'll introduce you, then we'll go to the family side of the house. So to no further ado, I want to introduce Brother Terrence Hayes. What's going on, man?
Hey, Tony, thanks for having me today. And and I hope everybody's having a wonderful, happy Black History Month.
Yeah, and I tell you, you almost that group I had on last week or Monday, they had on the Ravens, and I had to point it out. Okay, so I'm looking at that Jaguar thing to to your right, my left, whatever. What's going on, man? You need to black it off, whatever. I mean, come on now. The
Yeah, yeah,
Jaguar.
yeah. I'm from Jacksonville, Florida, and born and raised there. And as many people probably know, our team was in the playoffs, and unfortunately, we took a loss to the Kansas City Chiefs, who happened to become the world champs. But we'll be back, and I'm going to represent my team to the fullest.
Oh, I got you. So wait till next year. Wait till next year. So as I said to you earlier, when we were in the green room, we're going to go through different sections.
Mhm.
We're going to do your childhood first. We're going to do your military, and then we're going to go to your families. So first, that's not the right one. First, we're going to talk about Terrence Hayes and his childhood. Terrence, give us a little insight of what the foundation, because everything, obviously the foundational starts when you're not in the military. So give us a little bit about the foundation that made Terrence Hayes.
Yeah. I had a wonderful childhood. I had two loving parents, both veterans themselves, both former Army soldiers themselves, served prior to my birth, and they were very structured, very influential in everything that I've done. They preached the value of faith. They preached the value of education. They preached the value of self-worth. And I had two other siblings as well. I'm the oldest of three,
Right.
and all three of us served in the Army as well. And I actually have a brother right now who's stationed at Fort Bragg, North Carolina, right now. So we come from a home of service, serving this wonderful military that we have in this country that we have. So, and that all started, like I said, just in the household with our loving mother and father, and I couldn't ask for any better parents. They taught me how to become a parent. They taught me the value of hard work, and I think, really prepared me for who I am today, Tony.
I tell you something, and I don't, this is not about me, it's about you, but definitely I'm a military brat too. Right. My dad served for 20 years, Jill Sergeant, all that kind of stuff. And I cannot overstate how that can really create a foundation
Mm-hmm.
that makes you have a broader perspective of like not just a single, you got
Mm-hmm.
Jacksonville on there, Jaguar, but you see more than that. And that's that thing you're talking about, that bringing that foundation that your family's built started, and you're still continuing on with your family. So I'm just saying that I see you, man. I hear you. This is not the show. I want to have a show one of these days. It's gonna say what did it call us? Military brats. Just
There
see
you
how
go.
the conversation goes. But I appreciate that foundation. So now let's go to our next segment, and it is Terrence and the military. Okay, Terrence, tell us again what's going on when you join. I guess you joined the military because of your family. So let's start from Terrence first came into the military and basic training.
Yeah, my military story is pretty interesting. My mother actually did not want me to join the Army. As a matter of fact, when she found out, she was very upset. I had two band scholarships to go to either Florida A&M University or to Bethune-Cookman. And both schools are not too far from Jacksonville. Wonderful HBCUs. And at the last second, I decided to call up a Army recruiter. Had never met a recruiter before in my life, had never seen one. But I just wanted to do something a little bit different. And I wanted to serve in my community, wanted to serve my country. And what better way to do that than to join the greatest army in the world? So I ended up reaching out to a recruiter. And fortunately, I guess for him, I checked all the blocks. So it made everything super easy. And so he was highly excited. And but he needed to talk to my parents because I was only 17 at the time. And so, after he chatted with my parents and my parents ended up chatting with me to ensure that that's the decision that I wanted to make, my mom walked me through the process. And what was great about it is that she helped me pick out the job that I'm currently doing now. And I did it my entire military career. She knew it was my strong suit. She knew it was my passion. And she knew it would be something that I would be able to do once I departed the military. So I've been doing public affairs ever since. Came in August of 1996, went to basic training at lovely Fort Jackson, South Carolina, and then AIT in Fort Meade, Maryland, where then I achieved the MOS of public affairs. And again, I've traveled the world. I think I've probably been stationed in my 20-year career. I probably was stationed in, I think, 9 different places. So I was moving like every 2 to 3 years, and on average. So that got a little hectic. And so I kind of called it a day. My last 5 years was at the Pentagon, and I was on the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff's public affairs team, where I was the very first public affairs advisor for the top enlisted service member in our military. And his title is the senior enlisted advisor to the chairman of the Joint Chiefs. So I've been about a lot of firsts. So I was the first in that position, just like I'm the first Black individual to hold this position here at VA. So God has definitely been good to me, and trust me, I ensure that I carry that foundation, that military foundation, in everything that I do currently.
See, now your story is, and I hear a lot because, of not just being military brat, but also, being military intelligence, that kind of stuff. So your worldview is definitely a broader than, like I said, Jacksonville. Mm-hmm. Can you tell, and then you were first on a lot of things as well. Can you share something that you thought was very interesting, either from being Black, even though, again, generally speaking, mm-hmm. the military is colorblind. Yeah. Generally speaking, I'm talking generalization.
Yeah.
But can you give us 1 or 2 instances that we blow our minds if we knew about it?
Yeah, I think, Tony, one of the things that was fascinating to me, and it was the first couple duty stations I had, is that I was the only Black person in my, I guess you could say, my unit. And my unit was a smaller, very small unit. It was called a public affairs detachment. And so that tends to be about 7 or 8 people. And in those first 2 locations, I was the only Black person in that organization. And to be quite honest with you, I noticed it, but it wasn't that big of a deal for me. I had grew up in those settings before. So it was nothing that was, foreign to me. But at the same time, I noticed that it wasn't too many Black, especially Black men, in my particular profession. And still to this day, it really isn't. When you look at the masses as well, Black men in the world of media or in the world of public affairs, public relations, is not many of us. So that really set the baseline for me. But also, it was one of those things where, as my parents had told me before, that just means I got to work twice as hard, and I got to always be on my A game, no matter what. So anytime I put that uniform on, I was looking sharp, no matter what we were doing, no matter if it was going to the motor pool to get dirty, or going out to the field, or going to the range. I was sharp, and because again, appearance is everything. And not only that, again, just because of some of the obstacles that many of us have faced before, in our past and even currently, we know that we always have to have the light on so that someone's always watching us. So again, those were things that my parents instilled in me, and I wanted to ensure that I always gave my A+ effort each and every time I showed up.
Wow. So, and a lot of those truths, man, they're just truth, right? About how you got to always watch, because you represent the whole, unfortunately, we represent the whole race. One Black person mess up, it affects all of us. And so we got to be a lot more cognizant of that. I want to come back to that once we highlight our sponsors, and we're going to go back and some things you did after you joined the military. We'll dovetail them, some of the better ways. But first, we want to make sure we include our sponsors. So our first sponsor I want to recognize is Gamma Eta Sigma, Phi Beta Sigma, Goat Mob Military Affairs Chair, which I am the chair from. I want to thank them. One of our principles of this course is about the community. Our chapter is in Tampa. Anybody want to know more about the Phi Beta Sigma, Gamma Eta Sigma chapter? DM me on either on Facebook or on LinkedIn and learn about our chapter. But I want to make sure I recognize them. And also, we want to recognize St. Pete NAACP, who also against about justice. I know that it says colored people, but it really doesn't matter. If you're facing justice, that's what NAACP is about. But what I do from my side of the house is we want to make sure that we focus on the military and some things that may be injustice as well. We already focus on that. In fact, NAACP has a history of advocating for veterans way back during the Jim Crow years. So again, thank you for our sponsors for the NAACP St. Pete. Woo! So we got past that. Now we're going to give now. So how long did you serve?
I served the mandatory minimum 20 years in 1 day.
Okay, what is this? You had it all mapped out. Okay.
What's funny is that I thought I was going to do longer than 20 years, to be quite honest with you. And it was always my goal to achieve the rank of sergeant major. Mm-hmm. And I think I achieved it because I got selected to become sergeant major, but I declined the promotion. And I did it for a couple of reasons. One, at the time, my wife, she was facing some health challenges here in the DC area. And I wanted to ensure that we weren't moving or, that I wasn't moving. And I was there to support her. And she has some wonderful health care here at Johns Hopkins, and they took great care of her. So that was priority number one. Number two is that, I just wanted to take on a new challenge as well. And what I didn't want to do was, take on the challenge too late. Sometimes I had a mentor of mine once tell me, hey, sometimes it's best to go out a year too early than a year too late. So I was like, you know what? I took that advice. I was like, that's very valuable advice. I'd rather, get out the game a year too early and maybe think about, what could have been, as opposed to getting out a year too late and then missing those opportunities. So those were the two things that led me to decline promotion to sergeant major and depart the military at 20 years on the dot. But trust me, if I could have done longer, I definitely would. I don't regret any of my time. Every single day that I served in that uniform, it was a day that I cherished. Even in the times that I was in lovely Baghdad, Iraq for 15 months, I just cherished those moments with the men and women that I, worked alongside, because we had that common bond, that common mission of, serving our country at all costs, even if that meant, sacrificing ourselves. So again, not many of us actually put that uniform on. 1% will ever put that uniform on. So that tells you the sisterhood and the brotherhood that we have. It's a very unique bond that we have and that we share. And again, it's one that I will cherish for my entire life.
Here's a question, because I know how when we talk about MOSs and stuff, how many slots did you have as a sergeant major in your MOS?
Not many. Literally, I think that board, I think we had about, I want to say 16, if I'm remembering correctly. It was 16, and I was one of those 16 individuals. Yeah. Again, it was an honor to have been selected, and again, I wish I could have went through with that obligation and went to the Sergeant's Major Academy and then eventually put that rank on. But I think knowing that, and I can live with this, knowing that I was selected. Right. So knowing that I can live happily. But again, I think, anyone who serves, I think really wants that opportunity to achieve the highest of highest. You want to be in those leadership roles where you're really impacting and affecting change. And unfortunately, I was able to depart and still be able to affect and impact change, but just in a different uniform.
And that's what we want to talk about as well, because I think people out there, and when we say sergeant major, You know, that's really E9. I always say it's better to sit there and say E's than to sit there because each branch has their own little E9. So if you sit there and say, you know, I don't know what the Air Force, I always get confused.
Yeah, Chief Master Sergeant.
Chief Master Sergeant. So I always say E9. Oh, okay, all right, I know what that is. So when you said Sergeant Major, you're talking about the E9.
Yeah.
But for the rest of the branches that are out there, go Army. I just saw. We're going to sit there real quickly because I want to give these guys who sit there and want to say hello. I want to just give them guys quick acknowledgement, and then we'll come back and we'll talk about the family. So I want to thank. I have no idea who that is, but good morning to you. Jonathan is on my team as well. Great guy from Atlanta. Thank you, Jonathan, for being part of this and supporting Veterans Council Veterans. Makia, she's part of the Blue Star family in Tampa. So thank you, Makia, for being up in the morning and watching us. I have no idea who that is, but they're from Abilene, Texas. Somebody say hello, sirs. Yeah, I like this one here. Whoever this is, like, yeah, that's what we're talking about. Go Army. Boo, everybody else. Hey, Keith, I've known Keith for many, many years. So thank Keith for being up this day and watching this show. Oh, somebody from the base train from 1975.
Hey.
I went to basic training. I got to slow my tone down. But I went to basic training in 1979. So Keith was just right on the cusp of when Vietnam was about ready to
right.
Not Keith, but the guy who went to basic training during that 1975. And last but not least, Command Sergeant, well, she's a Sergeant Major E9. Well, it's not, E9. Okay, that's better. In the Marines. Thanks for Cassandra for being here and supporting Veterans Council and Veterans, and for being here early in the morning. So I want to make sure I thank people who made comments here. So we're going to get back now to something I really love this part. And this is what I call the humanization part, and that is the family. Now, Keith, you already made some mention already when it came to the considerations you have when it comes to the family, right? You have sometimes you got to know when it's time to go, because you want family to be long lasting, and I don't know about you, but the military is really, really tough when it comes to families. And I was divorced, and when I was in Bragg, matter of fact, I got a house in Bragg. So the family is really tough, and so that's why I wanted to make we talk about that for people out there who are in the military and stuff, and then when they get out, that we do also care about the family. So let's talk a little bit about the family. Your wife, how long were you married while you're in the military, and was it to your wife?
Yeah, so I met my wife here in DC. We got married in 2014, and so yeah, family is vital in every decision that you make. So she was a veteran herself. She had been out, but we met here and we became like a tag team. And that was the great thing about it, is that when you're on a team, you gotta be able to pull your weight. So I wanted to make sure that I was pulling my weight, and yeah, I think the good thing about a solid team is that what we tried to do was kind of plan things out and kind of write things down, write various different goals that we had for each other and where we wanted to be in 5 to 10 years, and we were able to kind of check some of those boxes off along the way. But again, as with anything, there's challenges, in all walks of life. And when those challenges come in, you have to be able to figure out how to maneuver through those challenges. So thankfully, I had a wonderful partner, still do have that wonderful partner who helps me even now. And I don't make any decision selfishly. I always consider her in all of those decisions, to include my newly 19-month-old daughter. Have to include her in all of my decisions.
We're going to talk about her a little bit
as well. And I also have 2 other children. I have a 26-year-old son who's who's in lovely Jacksonville, Florida, and he's a doctor. And I love him to death. And a funny story about him is that we have this picture at the house, and it's me holding him as I'm graduating high school, and he was a brand new 3-month-old baby as I'm graduating high school as a 17-year-old kid myself. and to see him become the man that he has become, to see the goals that he's achieved in light of my 20-year military service, not always being available for him, it means a lot to me. And I always tell him he's the smartest person that I know. He's the first doctor in my family, so that's a milestone in itself. So I'm very proud of him. And then I have a 18-year-old daughter as well, who is a freshman at Norfolk State University, and she too is going in the medical field. She's studying nursing, and she has been a blessing as well, and she's doing amazing also. But family is everything, brother.
So just shout out, give him a shout out because all I heard was son and daughter. Just give him a quick shout out from dad, proud dad. So give him a quick shout out.
Yeah, Marcus, love you as always, man. Keep doing wonderful things. Naila, keep rocking it at Norfolk State University. And the crazy thing is, she and her brother both are HBCU attendees. So my son graduated from FAM, the school I was supposed to go to, and my daughter's at Norfolk State. And we'll see what happens with the 19-month-old, and her name is Chancellor. So it's a long way from now for her,
right?
But the goal is, as my wife and I have written down on a piece of paper, is to stay as healthy as possible, so we can see Chancellor through to college as well.
So I want to just quickly, so Master Gunnery Sergeant. That's the term for E9.
Master Guns, exactly.
Thank you for educating us there, Cassandra. So I mean, so one of the things that and we know as an African American community, regardless, is that we do have, we have a very high single parent rate. And so seeing people like you and we had a bunch of guys on a couple of nights ago about the embracing fatherhood and the importance of fatherhood and the importance of family. And I don't hear that as much on TV as the best, that's why we got to talk about it, that we embrace that and the importance. So give us, now I know you said Chancellor's your 9th month though. Give us that quick, because that's how, you and I were talking back and forth about it. Chancellor's a miracle, right?
Yeah. Chancellor, my wife had not had a child, and we were married at the time at about 5 years, and we started discussing the possibilities of having a child ourselves. And unfortunately, because of those health concerns that I mentioned earlier, we were kind of at a crossroads. And again, because of God and because of just our faith holding strong, we were able to look at some different options. And in this world that we live in, this world has advanced scientifically, and we were allotted the opportunity to try IVF, and we did that on 3 occasions. And well, the 3rd occasion actually worked, but unfortunately, we didn't get to the to the end game,
right?
And we had to kind of take a pause.
Sure.
And we, during that pause, we kind of discussed, what could be next. And I think what was great is that we had another option on deck. We were talking about adoption.
Right.
We were talking about adoption, and that was high on the list. And as we're going through that process and kind of educating ourselves on adoption, we were approached by one of our family friends who said that they would carry the child for us, sort of like a surrogate, but what's called a gestational carrier. And trust me, it was a shock. It was a surprise. It was humbling. It was a bunch of different emotions, and just let's just say that it all worked out, because that family, who are near and dear to us, was able to carry Chancellor, and she was born in June of 2021, and it has been a blessing ever since. But it was a long, windy road to get to that point. But it was a process that taught us a lot, and it taught us about just enduring love for the family who helped us, through this process and helped us carry the child, love for us as a husband and wife, and then love on the back end for a beautiful daughter that we have that we cherish so much. So yeah.
Yeah, and I tell you something, when you talk about the IVFs and that kind of stuff, that we don't know much about it, right? Because now you don't see it much on TV, and the absolute ups and downs that you just kind of mentioned.
Yeah, yeah. It's not an easy. Yeah, it's not an easy road. People think IVF and then the next day you'll have a baby or something like that. It's not that simple. It's very taxing on the woman, on the mother, and I'm saying taxing physically and emotionally. So you have to ensure that you're there for your partner every single day to go through that grueling process. But I think my wife will be the first to tell you that that process was necessary for us to get to the end road, and we would do it all over again because now we're graced with our lovely daughter.
You benefited from now. So our last couple of minutes we got here, I want to, we've known in the climate, I've seen it about the constant divisiveness, right? And there's, I mean, at the end of the day, we're only like two genes away from being, all the one race or whatever. And I just want, and I want to say out there, for people watching and stuff like that, generally speaking, when you're in the military, generally you're just one color, right? Or one branch, generally speaking. It's when you get out when you start seeing the differences, when all of a sudden we start going our ways and stuff. Give us just a couple of one thing that you think that will help us bring us together versus being separated. Some people think, well, why are you doing this black thing? And I said, well, it's, like I said earlier in the program, it serves two purposes, because, it educates us on how much, it brings us together. And hey, we're all sacrificing. Give us your comments, your comments. And I know you're not, I know you're a political appointee. You gotta be careful. You can't be, rocking no bridges and stuff. You be on some news the other day. Dun, 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 dun. But what are your thoughts about this? How can we start bringing us back together?
Yeah, I think the real thing is this. I think it's a foundational thing. You ever notice that, you ever see kids? I'm talking about like my daughter's age, 19 months, 2 years, 3 years old. You ever see those children and they like play with one another, and they just play. They don't care who's there. They don't care where you came from. They don't care, what your financial status is. They don't care, what your educational background is. They don't care what your race is or your gender. They just want to have fun and play with you. And I think that looking at that innocence is what it should be all about. And I say that because we should be willing, all parties should be willing to learn from one another. And while we may not always agree, we should always be willing to respect and be willing to understand the plight of others. And especially during this month of Black History Month, because Black history is a vital part of American history. You can't tell American history without Black history. That's just the bottom line. And just like you can't tell American history without Native American history, or Hispanic American history, or Asian American history. These are all vital parts of American history.
Don't forget women.
Exactly. So again, this is vital. So we have to be willing to have those conversations to where I can learn about other cultures and not be so closed-minded that we can't progress. So you have to have those conversations. You have to be willing to listen more than you're willing to speak. Because when you listen, you can understand, you can really process other individuals' experiences. And that's the wonderful thing about the military, is that you have all these varying different experiences because people are coming from all walks of life. And if you're willing to kind of open your mind up a little bit and take some of that stuff in, it makes you a more well-rounded individual. So again, I think we just need to get back to the basics of, like I said, going back to those children who just innocently just play with one another, have no preconceived notions, have no sorts of things that's blocking them from engaging with those kids. That's how we should be. It's all about love, man. It's all about understanding. It's all about treating others how you want to be treated. That's the baseline, and I think we need to just get back to that, just as a human race.
Yeah, and I just as I said earlier, we got coming in March. We got Women History Month. I definitely want we definitely got to acknowledge the recent 6888 Central Postal Directory of all African American women in World War II. We got to acknowledge that as well. We all, like you just said, we all are part of that history.
Exactly.
We all are part of it. So, and I think so we got like 2 minutes from you. I know I want to, respect your time and stuff like that. And hopefully we got no trouble. But
nothing has sounded the alarm yet for me today.
Somebody come on, somebody cut somebody cut the feed somewhere.
Right. Like if we just went if I just went to black, it's a code red. So
okay. Any last party thoughts you want to give before we end this Black History Month?
Yeah, Tony. I just want to give a shout out to you and your team for the remarkable work that you're doing for veterans, and you're doing it for all veterans. And again, I think that you're doing a great job. I think that what you're doing is really touching many veterans and their families. And I think that it's a wonderful conversation to be had, that you're talking about issues that matter most to them, whether that's, how to maneuver through the claims process, whether that's trying to get enrolled in the healthcare system, whether that's dealing with suicide prevention measures. You're tackling some very difficult subjects, and a lot of credit goes to you for doing that, for continuing to serve long after you've taken that uniform off. That's something that's near and dear to me. Hopefully I'm doing a great job as well, continuing my service for my fellow sister and brother in arms. But I think, if more of us did that, we'd be in a better place. And I think, again, the great thing is that veterans trust veterans.
Right.
And when they hear things come out of your mouth, or they hear things come out of my mouth, they know that it comes from a credible source, and they trust us. And the thing that I just say is that we have to be very mindful of that trust, and we need to ensure that we're always leading those men and women in the right direction. So again, brother, thank you for everything you do. Thank you for allowing me to join the program today. Thank you to your viewers as well for everything that they do. And I look forward to, again, jumping on here at a later date to talk about all things VA and answering many of the questions that you and your teammates may have out there regarding the Department of Veterans Affairs. Yep. But let's definitely stay in touch. And again, I'm humbled to join you today.
I appreciate it. Go Eagles. And my wife's a Dallas fan, so I'm always having conflicts.
Well, that must be a difficult household.
Oh my gosh, but anyway. Yeah. All right, we appreciate it, man. And I'll see you on the flip side, and I'll hold you to that, because now I'm going to tape this. I'm going to hold it to you. I'm say, hey,
no worries. Again, man, my word is my bond. As many people know, again, I would love to join the program and answer some of the tough questions that you may have regarding the Department of Veterans Affairs, because I think there's some either just misinformation out there that folks aren't really understanding that's going on at their Department of Veterans Affairs as it is currently. And there's some things also out there that we need to do a better job of communicating to the veteran community out there, because there are some fabulous things going on at VA. We just need to get it down to the grassroots level. So trust me, hold me accountable. I'll definitely be on the show again to answer all the tough questions. I don't think your questions will be as tough as some of the questions that I answer on a daily basis.
Yeah, I know
So I'm
that's
totally
right.
prepared.
I know that's right.
So I'm totally prepared to address those issues.
Okay.
But would love to join again, my brother.
That sounds good, man. I'll definitely follow that. So great. But already, I'm thank you for keeping your time. I know my stickler, you're going to give me 45 minutes. I want to make sure I get to that because I don't want, man, that guy, man, he said 45, he did an hour. Don't go to him. So anyway, thank you. Much props to your wife and your kids, successful kids. Both one's a doctor, one's going to be a doctor, and then Chancellor. We got to say, hey,
Yeah.
So it's all good, man. I'll see you on the flip side.
Thank you, my brother. Appreciate you. God bless you.
You too. So there we go. We just had another great conversation. Terrence Hayes is actually the first African American press secretary. And eventually, it won't matter if he's the first black, whatever. Right now, it's important that he talks, especially during Black History Month, because it's a trust thing. He says one of the things about Veterans Council of Veterans is what he just said. We can with the trust factor. Veterans Council of Veterans is a nonprofit been around since 2014, and one of our number one projects is to connect veterans and their families to veterans and families who are mental health providers, because we walked in your boots. That's our number one. Military sexual assault. That is we are the big advocates for that. You'll soon hear about us having our next second annual conference here in St. Pete. Definitely military sexual assault and trauma. Families. You got, if you strengthen the family, you strengthen the veteran. That's one thing that we have lack access to, especially if you get out of the military and you didn't retire, you don't get TRICARE. Families. Suicide prevention, you'll hear about that as well. One reason why we do the military sexual trauma, because women veterans have twice the rate of suicide than non-women veterans in the military, and mainly is military sexual assault and trauma. Finally, DEI. We don't just talk it, we walk it. What you've seen here, you'll see again for women's veterans, for Women's History Month, Women Veterans Day, which I think is June the 12th, Hispanic Heritage Month as well. You'll see that because they're all LGBTQ. If you serve, you're going to be on here, okay? If you serve, that's all I care about. If you serve, you're on the show here. Whew, that's a lot. But one thing I do want to end for you guys, I do want to come. I'm so proud of this. Our next event we'll be honoring Sergeant First Class Alan Cash. Sergeant First Class Alan Cash received the Medal of Honor last year. He is from Oviedo, Florida. He received it posthumously, and we want to have some of his battle buddies, like I said, sergeant majors are going to be on, and his family, and we have a great conversation. Put that in your you got to see sign. It'll be Monday at 7 p.m. It'll be live stream. You will actually get a chance to hear about the heroic actions that Sergeant First Alan Cash took as he tried to save his fellow veterans. And we talk about when it comes to race. When we out there fighting, we don't sit there and look around and say, where the black people at? No, we all one family. When we're out there, we're trying to save and fight. So that's what I hopefully we come to, and you can get that when it comes to veterans. When you come to what Veterans Council of Veterans is doing. So I definitely, before we do that, I want to sit there and see a little clip. Some of you guys said, well, who is Alan Cash? Who's Alan Cash? Here's a little 2-minute video.
A local man sacrificed his own safety to rescue 6 soldiers from a burning military vehicle. Officials say Oviedo native Alan Cash was still on fire when he went back in to pull injured and unconscious men to safety. Now, the Washington Post reports 16 years after his death, the White House will award him with the Medal of Honor. He has already been awarded the Purple Heart, Silver Heart, and Bronze Star, but this would make him the first black veteran of Iraq and Afghanistan to receive the Medal of Honor. News 6's Carolina Cardona spoke to his family.
So that's who we're going to talk about. You're going to hear a lot about him, learn about him on Monday, 7 p.m. You can watch it either on our link. If you're on LinkedIn, you can watch it on LinkedIn. If you're part of Veterans Council of Veterans Inc., you can watch it on there. If you're a friend of mine, my wife says, you have no friends. If you're a friend of mine on Facebook, you'll see it as well. And if you're part of Veterans Council of Veterans Group, you'll see it there. And you'll see it on our YouTube channel. But don't miss it. The final chapter for this month of Black History Month on 27th of February, we're going to be interviewing family members and the battle buddies of Sergeant First Class Alan Cash from Oviedo, Florida, who was a recipient of the Medal of Honor. And as that newscast just mentioned, even though it's, somebody said, why mention his race? It's a reason why. We got to make sure everybody shares in the pain. He is the first African American to receive the Medal of Honor during the Iraq and Afghanistan wars. So stay tuned. for all of that. So until then, let me get back to me. Till then, this is Tony Williams from Veterans Council Veterans. I want to thank our sponsors, the Gamma Eta Sigma. Gamma Eta Sigma from Phi Beta Sigma. Thank you. Also, NAACP St. Pete, thank you for your sponsorship. And of course, Veteran Council Veterans, thank you for your sponsorship as well. So that's it, guys. Finish up, get ready for lunch. I'll see you on the other side on Monday, 7 p.m. Until then, our intro and outro.